In this video, we're going to be going over some of the best advice out there for improving your fighting. We're going to be going over how to use Arena the most effectively to improve your fighting to become the best. You might think you know about Arena and how good it is for improving fighting and how to use it the best, but I've done the research today for you guys, and trust me, we're going really in depth, so I can guarantee that you'll learn something by the end of the video. And if you learn absolutely nothing by the end, don't be afraid to just leave a dislike. So, playing Arena. Hopefully, you've all heard how good Arena is for your fighting by now, but no one except me seems to cover the real factors that make it so good for that practice. Arena is so important when it comes to fighting because it is really just the best fighting practice that you can get. This is for a few reasons. The first reason Arena is so good for improving your fighting is that the fights are actually realistic. This is because your fights in Arena are literally just real fights. And the second reason is because you have to fight in a higher pressure situation. Fighting in low pressure situations such as creative isn't as good for fighting because while you can perform in those fights, you just won't be able to perform under the pressure of a real game or tournament, and that's what actually counts. Plus, everyone plays with a different playstyle in creative to Arena, whether they consciously do it or subconsciously, so it's just so much better to practice in those real scenarios. So now that you actually know why Arena is so helpful for your fighting, hopefully it can motivate you guys more to grind it after we go over how to play Arena to improve your fighting the most. So most people just say that you should absolutely W key everyone in all of your Arena games to improve your fighting, and while yes, that can be good for improving fighting, it mostly ends up with one of the following two things happening. The first one is that people completely disregard practicing or playing their fights properly and just end up jumping into everyone's box. This isn't what you should do because you want to practice fighting properly, and if you rely solely on phasing into boxes to fight people, you're probably just not going to do very well when you have to fight properly. Also, it creates the wrong mindset for improvement because if you die, instead of trying to recognize your mistakes and fix them so that you can improve, your brain will always try to take the easy way out and just blame it on the fact that you didn't care or that you weren't playing properly. This makes it very hard for improving not only your fighting, but just all aspects of your gameplay, so please don't do it. And the second thing that happens when people full W key everyone is that they just get tilted, and that just completely stops them from improving because they obviously will be focusing on anything other than their mistakes. Again, they'll try to take the easy way out, and then they'll just start playing emotional in all their games. The W keying will get even worse, and you'll start to play worse and worse and worse, and you won't improve. Don't fall into that trap either. So, because one or even both of these things happens to nearly anyone who just starts to complete W key who isn't a god fighter, like you, obviously, because you're watching a fighting tutorial. Don't worry though, I'm nowhere near a god fighter either, but at least we're trying to improve as much as possible, and to do that, we're going to be using this new strategy. So, best way of improving your fights in Arena is to start with fighting more people than you're comfortable with, and then slowly increase the amount of people that you fight and the aggression of your playstyle as you become more comfortable with those fights. Using this plan means that you'll always be the perfect distance out of your comfort zone, which is exactly where you want to be for your improvement. With this playstyle, you won't be pushed so far out of your comfort zone that you make excuses, don't play properly, and get tilted, but you won't be staying inside of that comfort zone and just not improving either. This can transfer into every aspect of your gameplay as well. For example, if you want to improve your building, don't just do the same retakes and moves over and over if you already have them down. You need to constantly be learning new moves that are harder than the ones you're currently learning to push yourself out of your comfort zone. So for this playstyle, you first want to find out how many people you're fighting, and to do that, you should just play a couple games or look at your wins that you might have recorded or in replays and see how many fights you're taking, and then slowly try to increase those fights and the aggression of your playstyle overall. To do this, you want to get multiple drop spots so you can switch between them as you go up the ranks. For example, if you're playing really passive, instead of dropping at your current spot, you might want to move up to a drop spot that's still a safe outskirts spot where not many people land, but where you can still get some good fights off spawn and push into maybe a POI or look for some further mid game fights. And the same thing if you already land at a POI, try switching it up and landing at a POI VOI that has slightly more people at it. That way you can build up those fights naturally. I will admit that there is one downside to this way of improving your fighting, and that's that it is completely reliant on you. You dictate how many fights you take, and the rules aren't as clear cut as just fight everyone you see. However, this method is still better than full W keying for improving your fighting as fast as possible. And a general rule of thumb to use to counter this weakness is just to aim to take at least 2 fights more than you do in your own wins. So if your wins usually come with around 5 kills, then aim to go for at least a 7 kill win. Also, you should try to work your way around the zone, starting out fighting only on the dead side and then slowly moving your way to the hot side of zone and start to take way more fights on that side. So VOD reviewing. For those of you who don't know, VOD reviewing is simply reviewing or watching back your gameplay with the intent of learning or fixing mistakes to improve, and it really does just that. I could go on for hours about why VOD reviewing is so amazing and how to do it the best, but this is really a fighting related video, so I'm not going to go too in depth. First of all, I know VOD reviewing might not be as fun as playing, and if you don't want to do it a lot, that's okay, but for all of you players looking to really take your game to the next level, VOD reviewing is essential. For all of your sessions of Arena, make sure that you just have replays turned on or record all of your gameplay. I prefer actual recordings for VOD reviewing fights because it lets you see exactly what you're doing and the exact movements you make with both your character and your mouse at every second, which is really essential for improving fighting. So once you've recorded your fights in one of those ways, let's get into exactly what you should be looking for to improve your fights. And for this, I like to use the following categories: mistakes with your aim, builds and edits, movement and peaks, and fighting sense. I don't really want to get too in depth with VOD reviewing in this video, so that's all I'm going to say about it for now. If you'd like a full video on that, I'll try to come out with one next week for you guys, but in the meantime, you can go watch this video on screen now. It's super helpful, as good as this one, and I'll see you over there.